I wanted to say this right here that most people don't struggle with leadership because they're unqualified. Most people struggle with leadership because no one told them the rules. And, the rules change the moment you step into leadership. You don't get promoted and suddenly become a leader. You get promoted and immediately start unlearning everything that you did that made you successful before. And so, if you're new to leadership or thinking about stepping into it, the biggest mistake you can make is trying to lead the same way you did when you worked. And so, if you're on here that was you trying to operate the same way, drop a L. You're new to leadership, or you made that mistake. They drop that in the contacts right there or in the comments that because leading people or if you're about to, okay. And so I want to set this there though. The biggest mindset shift that new leaders struggle with that is realizing leadership is no longer about being the best player on the team. It's about building the best players. And so, that's one that I see often time and time again. And so people fit into one of these three shifts every time. And it's a very common thing that we see. So those of y'all coming in, hopping in on live, I appreciate having you guys on. And so the first point that I'm gonna make, like I said, that because we're making leader shifts right here. You're making a shift whenever you become that leader. The first point that I have is proving your value to creating clarity. Okay. And actually I should this kind of started that the question was asked to me, that by Megan, and she said, "Hey, what's one of the biggest mistakes you see or biggest struggles you see people make with or when they're new to leadership?" And so the first one that I see often that is that they go from proving their value to creating clarity. Okay. And so what I'm saying is that a lot of times new leaders feel like they have to be right. Okay. And it's a very common mistake. That's one of the most common ones I see is new leaders, they want to be right. That they think that if they don't have the right answers, that it's a trouble. And as part of this, because remember, oftentimes what organizations do is, and I've seen it time and time again, they take the best widget maker and make them that the manager. They make them the leader. They make them whoever it is. And so it's a very, very common mistake for them to do this, that because you just took somebody, it's a completely different skill set. And so, like we said, it's a leader shift, it's a mindset shift that you're having to make in this process as you become a leader. And so, you oftentimes think that you got to be the one making the right answers, that you're the one who's got to do all the work. And so, that's one that you see. Now, the shift that needs to happen during this time. So, when you're new to leadership, that you need to make sure that you are doing is the first thing that, like I said, is you're going from being the doer to the conductor. And think of it like this. You're going from being the lead trumpeter, like first chair in the band, that to you are now the conductor. And so you got to worry about, like, you can't possibly conduct the band and play in the band at the same time. Okay. And so your value as the leader when you move into leadership is around clarity. Okay. So you have to create the direction. You have to create the expectations. You have to create the priorities and standards. And so things that's important to remember is you don't have to have all of the right answers. And this is one that a lot of us make a mistake on in the beginning is we feel like we have to. We got to prove our value. And this is a big mistake because you've already proven your value. You're in the leadership role. Now it's your job to start creating the best teams, okay? That these are where you're going next is you've got to now create the best team. And so things that you'll see all the times, they're over explaining stuff. So as the leader, you get into a meeting and they're the main one talking. So like, hey, I want to bring you in. And so as I see y'all jumping in, Easton, they welcome, Isaac, welcome, Big Stone, welcome. Appreciate y'all jumping in. Um, that the leader is the one that's doing all the talking. They control the conversation. They literally are just controlling everything in it. And so you see this a lot because we feel the need to be validated. We feel like if I don't control the conversation, that nobody is actually going to care, that because I need to feel validated that with myself, okay? And so again, we want to be the one that people come to with all the struggles or the struggles, the troubles, things of that nature. We want people to do that, okay? And that's not what you need to do. Your main job as the leader is to go from proving your value to creating clarity. You create the direction. You're the one who goes through and teaches people what those, like I said, the direction, expectations, priority, and standards. Okay. And so if this one hits you, that type clarity. Type clarity in the comments. So if this one hits you, type clarity in the comments. I want to see who's self-aware. Those of you who are on here and watching, go ahead and drop that. There's no judgment in here. All right. So point number 2, and this one I struggled with. This one was mine. And I'm kind of going to be curious. Go from wanting to be liked to being the leader. Okay. And what I mean is we're afraid to hold people accountable. I'm a naturally, like I like people. I want to be around people. I want to hang out with you. Like I'm a networker. I love to get to know you. And so oftentimes, because when the roles that we were in as a leader, or prior to being the leader, okay, let me say that. Sorry, prior to being the leader, is that we wanted our peers to like us. And so new leaders avoid the accountability and holding people accountable because they want that approval. They're leading former peers. And then they confuse kindness with comfort. So this is one of the stuff, okay? And avoiding accountability doesn't make you a good leader. It makes you unpredictable. Telling people what they want to hear so that they will like you and that they'll want to stay with you and they'll want to hang out with you, is a terrible thing. And when you're unpredictable, you kill trust. So example, and I had this with a client of mine. They were telling me, and often I think it's important to remember that you, as oftentimes when you're first new into leadership, you're a entry level manager. You're not the top dog. You're in there towards the bottom somewhere, and so it's important to know that when you're doing this. Okay. But you'll see this to where somebody's one of my clients, their boss was, they came in and, hey, we're going to do all these great things for you. You're going to get this, you're going to get this, you're going to get this. They go make it happen. They tell me what it cost, etc. Well, 2 days later, that they got all those things for their boss, and their boss turned back around and said, yeah, I'm not spending that money. Now, that's way too much money. And so I'm just going to tell y'all, it was less than $1,000. Less than $1,000 that was going to help streamline these processes and procedures and make them more efficient. So allowing them to no longer have to manage a spreadsheet and manage keeping track of stuff, like no longer manually tracking this, to being able to go out and create the connection with their people. And I say why that's important, that because those of you that are around, that if you've been with me before, I'm going to constantly talk about the 5 levels of leadership. That you've got position, permission, productivity, the people development, and then the pinnacle. Okay, and so you're wanting to move in to the levels 2 and 3, permission and production, because that's where a lot of the magic happens. But then it goes even step further. When you become the boss, your job, like I said in point number 1, is to start developing the people under you. Your job is to be, not to be the best player anymore, it's to create the best players. And so this is where a lot of people mess up. And because they just don't want to hold anybody accountable to what they did. Or what they said. Okay. And so here's what you need to think about, though. Holding somebody accountable is the greatest form of love that you can show them. And I think to my own children, I've got 2 boys, 18 and 15. I don't discipline my children. When they were younger, I didn't spank them or put them in timeout or whatever, just because I was like, you know what, you deserve to be in timeout. This is what's happening. No, it was never about that. It was always about, hey, you messed up. Here are the consequences. I love you that much that I'm not going to allow you to get away with it. And as I was coaching, when I was coaching athletics in high school and football, and this is one of the things that made me a great coach is I held my people to the standard. It took me a couple of years to get there because I was very nervous about it. What if these guys don't like me? They won't play for me. And that's nonsense. And it's the same thing at your job. If I hold you accountable and say, here's the standard, and you don't hit it, and nothing happens, you're creating a toxic work environment because your top performers are going to see it and you're going to lose them. Okay. And so accountability, it's not a punishment, it's respect. And when you respect yourself enough to know, hey, here are the standards that I'm going to hold you to, and I'm going to do it now. And so it really is. It's such a form of respect. It's such accountability, such a form of respect. It's such a form of love. It's a way to show people that you honestly care. And people confuse that, They confuse, hey, I don't like them, or they fussed at me for not doing this and they don't like me. When in reality, that's the most, or that's the best thing that you can do for somebody, is to hold them accountable, is to hold them to that standard, because it is showing them love. And so they drop it in here. I want you to be honest right now. I want to drop a comment. Which is harder for you to do, give feedback or receive it? So if giving is yours, just put give. If getting or receiving it, put get. So give or get, drop that in the comments. So those of you are on. I'm with you on that, Kim. I don't like to receive that. I don't like receiving feedback, but yeah, Megan, I feel you. Giving it can be tough too, and it's never. And let's be real. It's uncomfortable for everybody involved. It's uncomfortable. Giving feedback or holding somebody accountable is uncomfortable, because I promise you, I don't want to have this conversation with you. And the thing is, you don't want to have this conversation with me either. You don't even want to hear it. So yeah, good stuff. I'll say user 67. Yeah. So I think somebody tried to trick me into that, I like it. Good one. That's funny. But nobody wants to have to give or do that. It's very uncomfortable. But my last point, point number 3, they go from doing everything to developing everyone. Okay. And this is one where people mess up, where when they become, and I think this is a difficult one, because if you've been guilty of saying this, just say me. Hey, it's a lot easier for me to just go do it than it is for me to train somebody to do it. Just let me do it. So I mean, who's done that? Or you can just press like. So you, yes, me too, Kim. Me too. Um, so it is. Hey, and stay and you want to stay busy. Like you want to show the team, I'm gonna work hard. I'm gonna outperform you. But what you're really doing when you stay busy, stay overwhelmed, that stay reactive instead of proactive, which is habit number one of Stephen Covey's highly effective people, uh, is you're really letting your team down. You're doing it because it makes you feel good. You feel like you're doing something that important because you're staying busy. And training somebody to do what you do is tough and it's difficult that because you have to take time out of your day to do it. And so it is. And I'll agree that those of you that are live, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok, that it's so much easier that, when me and my son are working on his dirt bike, we race motocross. It's so much easier for me to just go change the oil. Why? Because I know how to do it and I've done it 1.5 million times. But the thing is, with him, now when I teach him how to do it, he now has learned a skill and he can do this and help prep get ready for the race. Same thing. Yes, that it's the only way to build your team and allow you to put something different on your plate. And that's the only way, as the leader, we're looking at that as somebody who's moved up into corporate roles, that you're looking at that. Who around me can do that? Who around me can start doing what I'm doing to start training and develop their leaders? And so when I talk about level 4 leadership, that this is exactly what I'm talking about. Level 4 leadership, you start developing other leaders around you. Okay. And this is addition. So that's what you're wanting to do right here. But what we want to start doing is when you move from level 4 to level 5, that you've gone from helping to develop leaders, this is one at a time, to now that I've got people on here who are developing leaders too. It's not just me. And so if I develop one and they develop one, but then I go develop another, we now have 4. But if they start teaching and developing, then now it starts to grow. And you create a culture of leadership when you do this and you stop trying to do something that you can do. One of my personal feelings is if somebody can do it 70% as good as I can, I give it to them. If it's something that I don't love to do, I give it to them at 70%. Okay. If they're 70% as good, that's the best way to do it. And because again, it's going to free you up, like, to really start thinking in how do they start helping people and how do I do this? Um, so yeah, somebody just, he said 6'7". Sorry. And to go off on a side note, that's one of those that I like. It's kind of funny to me that the whole like 6'7", like whatever. But and that's one I probably would have had a ton of fun with when I was coaching. And so, you know, this is the things that are missing. The leader shift that you're having right here to developing the team is learning how to delegate. And this one's hard. Okay, this one's hard. This one's hard. This one's hard. Learning to let them fail. Oh, learning to let them fail. We as parents, and I think this is one that we struggle with the most as a parent is you see it, go to the park and watch whenever, or that Chuck E. Cheese, go somewhere where there are people, there are parents, okay? And watch them with their kids. Watch those who are afraid to let their kids struggle, to let them fall down. And you'll see right now that when you're doing that, you're not helping your child, you're crippling your child. You're doing the same thing with your team when you don't allow them to get it wrong, to let them struggle, to not figure it out. Now you're making yourself the go-to person, and it's making yourself feel good. It's your pride, it's your ego that you're doing right there. And so, you know, leadership, and I love this quote. It says leadership doesn't hide your weaknesses, it exposes them. It exposes them. And so if you are the leader, um, you know, it's going to amplify who you are. When things get tough, it's really going to amplify who you are, what they do, so on and so forth. And so in this moment, as you're developing other people, things that you have to do is you have to start learning on your own. You have to start developing yourself too. So that's very important. And so if you've ever thought, hey, I'll just do it myself, it's faster, go ahead and type guilty. Because that was me for a while. And so, look, the three things that we went to, like creating and providing clarity, that your job as the leader is not to know everything. And trust me, your team already knows you don't. Don't try to hide it. Don't try to make them feel like you're going to do it better or that you can't do it wrong. They know your weaknesses. If you're new, or just go to one of your coworkers and say, "Hey, what would you say one of my weaknesses are?" But be prepared, your feelings will get hurt because they already know. They already know. So that was the first one. The first mistake. They feel like new leaders feel like they have to know the right answers. The second one was holding people accountable. That we avoid that because we want to be liked. It's deeply ingrained in us as human beings. I want to be liked. I want you to like me. Therefore, I'm going to be nice to you. I'm going to smile. But if you're my friend, then Easton, I'm with you. Easton, I'm just going to let you get away with it. You just type guilty and it's okay. No, that it's not okay. We hold our people accountable. It's one of the greatest forms of love. And then our third point was that we want to do everything ourselves. That we want to be doing everything ourselves. And so if you've got questions, and I'm going to be continuing to do more leadership live trainings, going to be doing a training for those who want to develop the leader within themselves. And look, not just managing people. If that's you, stay connected. Watch for what's coming. Don't try to grow alone. And go ahead, and if this made an impact, follow this. I share this live with somebody who's new that's stepping into leadership. And then let me know which one of these shifts was the hardest for you. That holding, sorry, that trying to do or saying, hey, I got to know everything. I got to always be right. Two, holding people accountable, or three, doing everything yourself. So which one of those three was the hardest for you? And we're going to keep doing more of these. So make sure you stay in, stay tuned, like, subscribe, all that good stuff.